Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing good, Jamie. Doing good, and enjoyed the holiday. It was a nice break. Got to spend a lot of time with family and friends. Got some gifts, played some games. Life's good. Sports are good. Gaming's good. Just overall vibes are high. How about over there, man?
I mean, well, with everyone being sick and people are busy having kids and stuff, like I've barely left the house. I've seen family and stuff, but it's been a good 2 weeks. Hope everyone listening had a fantastic New Year. With everyone getting sick, basically at the minute, like New Year's Eve was just people staying in, so nothing fancy. But honestly, I think I'm at the point in my life now where, maybe once every so often, it is okay to spend New Year's Eve in the house just playing video games, which was very, very much needed. And I've been dealing with bronchitis for like a month and a half now. So, like, the thought of even going out to, like, pubs was kind of haunting. like, I went to a pub to see my friends 2 days after Christmas, and it took it out of me. I could barely stomach being around like hordes of people. um, but I'm
Yeah, I
getting there.
feel you, man.
But it was a good few weeks. Christmas was great. Got some cool stuff. The food was good. The drinking was just as good. But yeah, good times. Before we get into all the stuff we've been playing, I want to say it's going to be a very positive show today, because there hasn't really been anything bad when it comes to gaming. So, good stuff. Anyway, Logan, what have you been playing?
And I've been playing just a weird collection of stuff. Like I finally beat the Spyro trilogy, so
Nice.
over the break I played through all of them. I have to say that Toys for Bob did a phenomenal job with the remake
Oh, yeah.
trilogy. Like they're so good. I love the characters. It's witty, it's funny, kind of that Saturday morning cartoon kind of vibe. Because it had been a while since I had played Spyro. Because, I remember the PS1, original trilogy, and that had been basically the last time I had played the original ones. So it was awesome to play him again, and Better Than Ever did a fantastic job. Makes me even more hyped for a Spyro 4 or whatever else they're cooking up. And I jumped into Crash Team Racing, because, I've just been on a mascot kick lately, I guess, and enjoying that. And man, as somebody who grew up with Mario Kart, like N64, Double Dash on GameCube, and like the Wii U Switch,
Yeah.
different versions, like I had never really played Crash Racing. I had kind of just always been like, huh, well, that's on the other platform, whatever. But, playing through it, I'm like, this is a really good Mario Kart rival type game. And if you like Mario Kart type experiences or the mascot racer type thing, definitely check this out. It's in Game Pass now. For some reason, it's one of the Activision games that they have but don't have on cloud or mobile, but you can still play it on your PC or your Xbox. Highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It plays, if you're familiar with Mario Kart, it is very much Mario Kart, but a little different. And I love it. Gives me hope that maybe that this is a solid base they can work with to, get that mascot racer that we've always wanted. Like that rare kind of toyed around with but never, got across the finish line, so to speak. Like I really think there's a solid something to work with here, and I'm enjoying that. Been playing Slay the Princess, which I know it's like a record scratch title. People are like, "Wait, what?" Um, but did you ever play Doki Doki?
Nah. No chance.
Okay. For those who aren't familiar, okay, Doki Doki Literature Club, it looks like just this kind of cutesy little waifu visual novel, like, oh, you date these girls, you do this kind of thing. But my friends, it is something far more dark and sinister than that. It is just horrifying and a really mind trip of a game. And the same people who did that made this game, Slay the Princess. It's very much in that vein. You are, without getting into spoilery territory, I'll dance around things, but basically, you're this individual who you're in the woods and you're walking, and this narrator tells you, hey, you gotta go to this cabin and you've got to slay this princess that's there. And so there's all these branching choices, even things that seem really dumb or just offhand comment or decision can have a drastic difference in results for the entire narrative. And it has just insane amount of replayability. I played that so many different times to get all these different endings and branching narratives and dialogues. It goes to some very, very dark and weird places. But it also has some just absolutely heartwarming and hilarious stuff too. So highly recommend that. I also played Stray, which I was a few years late to. Like, I'll admit, when it first came out, I was one of those people. It's like, oh, okay, it's a cute cat indie game. Like, why is this nominated, for all this stuff? Like, I love Annapurna, but come on now. You're a cat with a backpack.
Yeah.
What's the deal here? But I played it, and I have to say, it was good. Like, it's a solid 8 for me. It's like a nice, good, not too long, doesn't overstay its welcome type experience. And there's some real heartfelt emotion and depth and lore to it. And it's like, man, it makes you really want to explore this kind of walled city. And it, but you're a cat and you walk around with this backpack. You have a little robot companion guy that helps you open doors and hack things, and it's it's random, but it has some Metal Gear references and Metal Gear gameplay in it. But you're a cat, and I'll just leave it at that. But it's really good. Enjoyed that, and I beat the Thing remaster,
Oh,
which was
nice.
phenomenal. They did a great job with all that they've been. Night Dive is just like, they're basically an auto buy for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they did a tax simulator game, I'd probably buy it. Like, they just, whatever they put out is like gold. It's like, I loved seeing what they do with these older titles, bring them up to date, add stuff, tweak things, make things better than you could possibly imagine. Just, it was really, really good. It was definitely a highlight. Loved it. The ending, man, I really, really hope they get to make that sequel now. They said if it sells well, they might. They might actually resurrect that thing too we would have gotten. So definitely recommend that. And yeah, Balatro and Power Wash Sim thrown in there a little bit. And sorry for the long spiel, but it's been a few weeks. And how about you, man? What all you been up to?
Well, I got a bunch of games for Christmas, so I've basically been playing them. I got a Quidditch Champions. Uh,
Oh, very nice.
yeah, I've been wanting to talk about this because nobody's talking about it. And so basically, before the game came out, they said, hey, this game isn't going to have any microtransactions, no battle passes, no paid cosmetics, and all that stuff. And with a game like Quidditch, you'd think, like, with the characters they could sell, the outfits, like, it's a perfect layup for a microtransaction ridden game. So I was thinking maybe they'll launch the game without any of that stuff and they'll slowly put that stuff in. So I fired the game up Christmas Day, and imagine my surprise when I see this thing that looked exactly like a battle pass, and it's not a battle pass. It has no paid cosmetics. It has no microtransactions. It has seasonal progression like a battle pass, but it's free. So you basically just level up like how you would in a battle pass, but it's free every season. Um, and everything you get in the game, be it outfits, characters, wands, logos, everything basically, it's earned in game. And I was actually shocked because we so used to be nickel and dimed by publishers that like this could have had microtransactions all over it, and there isn't any. And I hope it sells more. I thought it would have been a huge hit over Christmas because Harry Potter stuff, especially in the UK, sells really well at Christmas. But it had next to no marketing in the UK. So if people want a multiplayer game that also has a single player component, Quidditch Champions is the way to go. And I'm happy to say they actually got Quidditch working right. I was thinking, how would you actually get Quidditch working in a video game? But no, they perfected it. It's great. I'm just shocked that there's no microtransactions. They could have had it so easy. They could have had some easy, quick cash, but no, it's all earned in game. In fact, when you fire up the game, as far as I know I did, you get a bunch of money to buy cosmetics. So literally, you could buy everything in game with in-game currency, which you earn just by playing, which is really cool. It also has single player and all the achievements. I'd say pretty easily obtainable, which I think is pretty cool. I've also been playing Star Wars Outlaws. Now, this game has been controversial for months now, and I haven't really said much on it because I haven't played it, and I have to say, I'm bloody loving it. It's such a good game. Bear in mind, I've been playing with all the patches and updates and stuff, so like, I've had none of the bugs. I've had no issues. So my experience is pretty much like been the best way to play. I will put it like this: if this game had no like controversy before release, I'm not even kidding. I think this Ubisoft game would have sold over 10 million copies, easy, because
Wow, that's high praise.
it's got this weird like open world interactivity that something like Red Dead Redemption 2 has. There's people walking around doing their own thing. There's tons of different things you can interact with in the environment. There's mini games for everything. You go to have like some food which boosts your stats, and even the eating has a mini game. There's just something about it, and in the past, Ubisoft games have sold really well. Like Assassin's Creed 4, Valhalla, basically every Assassin's Creed game, and certain Watch Dogs games. But like this game, it is definitely a Ubisoft game, but it's probably the least Ubisoft game they've made in a long time. There's no towers that unlock parts of the map. It's just a really well made game, and a lot of the updates they put out over the past few months were to address things like instant fails when you get caught during stealth missions. I've been caught during stealth missions and no instant fails. You just have to fire your way out of the situation, which is pretty cool. Which actually makes you want to play smarter and more stealth-wise. Like yesterday I was playing and I had to sneak aboard an Imperial space station, sneak around, get some data and leave. And it was really cool. And I just think it's a bit of a shame that, this is another Ubisoft game sent out to die. Just like Avatar last year. I don't know what it is with Ubisoft. They really need to get back to advertising their games properly because it's such a good game. And like, granted, the only downside of the game is that the main character looks kind of funky. It's hard to describe what's wrong with the main character model's face, but you can tell that they've loosely modeled it on the actress who's very talented. Like the character Kay is fantastic. But like they should have just made her look like the actress rather than this other person. But outside of that, it's a fantastic game. I think a lot of people enjoy it, especially like if you want that Star Wars smuggler experience, because once you get your ship up and running, you can choose your own jobs. There's tons of different there's a few different factions. and depending on what quests you do for each one, your level of loyalty will go up or down depending on what you've done. And there's choices you can make that will affect each, faction. It's just really cool. I hope more people give it a chance now that it's, air quote, fixed. I've also been playing, let's see, A Quiet Place, The Road Ahead. Again, it's another game nobody's been talking about, and the best way I can describe it is it's Alien Isolation, but it's linear. It's a fully
Oh, that sounds awesome.
it's a fully linear Alien Isolation, but it's a quiet place. It took me around 10 hours to finish, and I that game scared the crap out of me at times. It does very much have the Alien Isolation vibe. So if people want something like that, it definitely has its influences. And especially if you like A Quiet Place. Like, I think all three of those films are really good. So if people want more of that, and there's lots of ties to the movies, all three movies, which is really cool. And I started Metal Gear Solid, what do you call it? Yeah, Master Collection Volume 1. I have to say, I have not played the original Metal Gear Solid in maybe 15 years. So, like, I completely forgot, like, how much that game does not hold your hand. You just basically told
Oh
to...
yeah, it throws you in the deep end,
Yeah,
big
it
time.
throws you in the deep end. It just, like, I got past a certain, like, mission where you're told to find someone. And I completely forgot that you had to put C4 on a random wall in a certain location. And then I was kind of hit with the nostalgia, like, oh yeah, this is what games were like back then. I completely forgot. And Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 have the 4K updates now. So depending on your display, you can play in 1440p if you want. You can have the internal resolution of the game go up if you want. You can also have HD video for, like, the historical sequences. I didn't want to spoil myself too much for it because I'm saving them, because I'm playing them in order. But let me tell you, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, 4K on console now, chef's kiss. I've played HD Collection so many times. So many times. But now having them in 4K, yeah. And yes, they got updated. It was kind of a weird thing Konami went about it because, like, when they announced Volume Collection 1, if you owned the HD collection, there was no reason to buy this collection outside of wanting the first game, which you could buy by itself. But, like, they just randomly put out the 4K patch. I think it was early December. And yeah, you could just, in the options, you select, do you want internal resolution up? Do you want output resolution up? And basically do whatever you want. And it still runs at 60 frames per second. So those games run perfectly fine. The only downside is Metal Gear Solid, the first one, has no upgrades at all. So you are playing the same game you played on the original PlayStation, same resolution, and same frame rate. Luckily, though, if you live in the UK or Europe, you can play with the 60 hertz option now. So no choppiness that we used to play back in the 90s and early 2000s with 50 hertz televisions. My God, Logan, that was terrible.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, 50 hertz TVs back in the day were absolutely awful because even as a kid, bit of a tangent, even as a kid, we all knew the game was playing in slow motion. Like, a game can run at 30 frames per second, but if your TV is 50 hertz, it's like you're running in butter. It's like slow. It's awful. But luckily you can change that in the settings, which is great. But good gaming all around. I think it's going to be an interesting year for games as well. Honestly, I wish I had more time to play games because I basically got a stack of games here. Oh, and before I move on to the main topics, Indiana Jones. Due to my bronchitis, I've only been playing a little bit each day. This bronchitis can do one. But Indiana Jones, I'm near the end. It's absolutely fantastic. The side quests alone are worth playing. Like, they're just so entertaining, and there's so many different collectibles in the game. Like, even like maybe 40 hours in, I think, like, I'm still discovering new gameplay mechanics, which is really cool. And it's kind of funny because back 3 years ago when Machine Games was announced that they're going to be making the brand new Indiana Jones game, right? I was excited because yeah, I love Machine Games. Their Wolfenstein games are absolutely bat crap crazy. Uh, but it's funny because like you have this elite first person shooter developer that make hardcore first person shooters, and they've made a first person game where you don't even have to shoot. And that never once occurred to me in the past 3 years, thinking, oh yeah, this game won't have much shooting, because 40 hours in, I've barely had to pick up a gun at all. And that's what makes it so good, because it went above my expectations into what I think an Indiana Jones game would be for Machine Games. And I think that's why a lot of people are happy. You know, it's not just another first person shooter where you're dressed as Indiana Jones, which thank God it isn't, because we've had enough Wolfenstein games, and I love Wolfenstein, but we didn't need an Indiana Jones game that's like that. Anyway, before we move on, we've had 2 weeks off. And even December was a bit weird because I lost my voice, literally my entire voice, in the beginning of December. So literally we had 2 weeks off. We're back for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks off again. So YouTube's algorithm, not exactly perfect. If you're enjoying the show, please like, share, and subscribe. It really is appreciated, and it helps the show and channel grow. Anyway, let's get into all the juicy topics because we've got quite a lot. Logan, I know you wanted to talk about some indie games that were missing from Xbox because there was a recent post about it.
Yeah, this is brief, but it just kind of came to my attention again. I saw somebody posted on my timeline, and yeah, like there was an article. I think it was True Achievement or one of those, achievement hunter type site things, talking about some games that they'd like to see come to Game Pass or Xbox or whatever. And Dave the Diver was featured on it, and I got to thinking, and I'm like, this is a game I've been really wanting on the platform as well. I've port begged it in their replies a bunch. I've tagged them. I've tagged ID Xbox people. It's just kind of weird that this indie that is award winning, even though it wasn't technically an indie in the category like qualifications, yet it won
Yeah.
indie at the Game Awards. That was a deal last year, but point remaining, it's a smaller scale game that is well received. A lot of people like it, and it looks fun. It has really cool crossovers with Dredge, which is another really fun fishing indie game. It had some Godzilla content,
Oh
which
yeah.
is super cool. And so I was like, dude, this should come to Xbox. And you look into it further, and it's just, it's baffling that it's one of those exclusively on everything but Xbox. Like, it's everywhere. You can, if you want to play Dave the Diver, you can, except on your Xbox. So, and it's been well over a year since it came out. So, if for some reason somebody had thrown a hat deal or something, you would think that would be done by now. I don't know what the deal is, but it kind of sticks out as a sore thumb of a why are some of these acclaimed indies not still on the platform? Like, we're focusing on positives and all that, and I'm thrilled with the direction of most things and happy with most of the games coming, but it's just this one in particular kind of bugged me because even Animal Well, they were able to get to the platform relatively soon
Yeah.
and got it cloud enabled as well, which was a critical hit. But there's games like this and like Papers, Please, or Pizza Tower, and like name Into the Breach is another one. Seems perfect for Xbox, like perfect for cloud and everything. It's on Switch, it's on Netflix for crying out loud, but it's not on Xbox or Oxenfree 2. It just for some reason there still seems to be some gaps or you know the net isn't being cast as wide as it needs to for some of these titles, and I just thought I'd bring some attention to it, and hopefully the powers that be listen and bring some of these more of these award-winning smaller titles over because there is an interest and desire in them. Like a Slay the Princess, for example. Like that is a bizarre indie title from an award-winning dev. It came to Xbox and is doing quite well. I loved it. I like these quirky, odd stuff. So yeah, keep bringing them.
Yeah, I think the best thing people can do is keep tagging, politely ID at Xbox. Hopefully, sign these games over because it does happen. Yeah, Oxenfree 2's because of the Netflix thing. Uh, that one surprised a lot of people. Hopefully, it's stuff that can eventually come over. I mean, look, there's an indie game that released, I want to say, 10 years ago on PlayStation. I still want to come over. It's called Transistor. It's a
Oh
isometric.
yes, 100%.
Yeah, like that's on mobile. It's on iOS, and I could play it on my phone if I want. But I don't want to play that on my phone. I really don't. And like that developer has other games on Xbox now, so like I think it's probably part resources and honestly some developers just don't have the time. Like hell, there was a game that was it went to PlayStation I think 2016 called Cosmic Star Heroine. It was a you know 16-bit JRPG with a sci-fi setting, and it was announced to come to Xbox literally I think in 2017, and it never came over. The studio just never got it done. Um, the lead developer talked about how hard it is to like get like single developer games over to a different platform. So it's still a weird thing when it comes to publishers and stuff. But hopefully more come over. Uh, but yeah, bit of a shame. Hopefully more come over this year. And it's only January. But yeah, if people want more games to come over, just tag ID at Xbox. I'm sure they'll listen. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? Um, I want to talk about this quickly because it came out of nowhere. Marvel Rivals. So, in my upcoming games list of December, which I put out a few months ago, I had Marvel Rivals in that list, and I told people like this game is going to be huge, and I was denied. Some people on Twitter said some nasty things, as per usual. That's a daily occurrence for me. What am I talking about? Um, and Marvel Rivals is absolutely doing incredible numbers. And it turns out hero shooter fatigue isn't really a thing anymore. It's just people like the art style. That game's got a really cool art style. It's like kind of cel shaded in a way. Literally does look like a graphic novel. And it's breaking all kinds of records. And I'd say that the monetization of the game is fair. I'd say it's fair. It's also got that thing where the battle passes don't expire type of thing, which Halo started, and now other games are getting credit for. But yeah, Marvel Rivals. Just want to put it out there, like that's been doing incredible numbers, and that game like had a lot of hate before launch because people were just saying, "Hey, it's another hero shooter. Nobody wants this." But yeah, I think it had like 400,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is crazy. Logan, I'm guessing you didn't play it, right?
I haven't. Hero shooters typically aren't my thing. I'll dabble in them here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen it take off. It's been all over the timeline, just like between, uh Invisible Girl or the Stretch Man. I can't remember his name.
Mr. Fantastic.
Um Mr. Fantastic or Squirrel Girl or just whatever crazy combinations people throw out there. They love the characters, the dialogue, the costumes, the gameplay. Turns out Concord wasn't a sign that hero shooters couldn't work. It was that people frankly just want interesting characters.
Yeah.
Like you can't have your you can't expect Overwatch at home to beat Overwatch. Like, it would take a very special set of circumstances to do that. And the kind of game that can compete with Overwatch is, I don't know, Marvel or DC. The people who have heroes and spades. It would be, a company like that. And power to them. They're doing quite well.
Yeah, I mean they launched with over I think 33 characters, like it's some
Yeah,
insane number.
that's
Uh,
a library.
yeah, like more like a lot of other games did launch with 8 characters, and the rest you'd have to buy. But yeah, I mean, and the character designs are just cool. Like Wolverine looks really cool in that game. Punisher, Venom, basically everyone in the game looks cool. But yeah, just want to put it out there. And by the way, someone got so good at playing as Wolverine within the first 2 weeks of the game coming out. This person is now going pro full time for a game that came out a month ago.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so crazy times we live in. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? I'll talk about this because this topic's it's something I want to talk about, but not many people are talking about it. So, a former Starfield developer says that people are fatigued with huge games, and I thought that's such a good topic because I think we both kind of feel the same way about this. Like, I love open world games, absolutely love them. I love like how immersive they can be. Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, The Witcher 3. Like there's something so immersive about those worlds that you just want to stay in them. And like I could play The Witcher 3 probably for 30 hours straight if I didn't need sleep. But I have noticed that more and more people recently, including myself, have been getting more excited over hearing the term 30-hour RPG. This game is 20 hours long. And I noticed now I'm really looking for games that can be finished in about 30 hours. And like while I will always love games like, Starfield, basically Elder Scrolls games, Fallout, games that I can put hundreds of hours into, uh, I think there is some genuine fatigue over huge games because if you go back to the seventh generation, and he'd be hopping the time machine again for another seventh gen talk. Back in the seventh gen, we were getting 12 to 30-hour games all the time, and we were getting like linear third person shooters, linear first person shooters, and I feel like when we got the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 generation, all these developers start making open world games. Everything had to be open world. Hell, Ghost Recon became open world, and I was as someone that always craved open world games. Like I kind of got tired of it. Like everything had to be open world. Metal Gear Solid 5, open world, bloody doesn't need to be. And like I'm at a point now where if a developer says something like, "Hey, our game is 30 hours long. It's a hub-based game." Like look at Avowed, right? It's not open world. There's no bloat, and they've said, "Hey, it's 25 hours to 30 hours." That is bloody perfect for me. And despite all the, I'm doing air quotes, drama for Dragon Age, the Veilguard, from what I've played of Veilguard, it's a level based RPG. It's not open world, there's no bloat. And I've enjoyed what I've played of it. And I'm just kind of sick of it. Like, yes, when The Witcher 4 comes out and it has its million question marks all over the map, I'll spend 300 hours clearing the entire map. And I'll be perfectly happy doing that. But I think people are getting to a point now where everyone is just getting tired of everything being open world. Open world this, open world that. And like when GTA 3 came out back in the day, that was a moment as a kid when I was like, I want more open world games. And we started getting more during the seventh generation. But last generation, I had my breaking point. I was like, I don't want open world everything. Ghost Recon works better as a linear game. And then we got more open world games. Like, Logan, I've been rambling. Like, what's your take on this? Because I know you've been looking for more shorter games as well.
Yeah, honestly, you and I are pretty much in the same boat on this one. Like, very like-minded. Like, I love open worlds, but at the same time, you know, you get kind of burnt out or okay, and like th- this might boil it down to like a very basic statement. It might sound lame brained, but it kind of just is. Not every open world is created equal. Like, there is a big old difference between The Witcher 3 or, something like, or Cyberpunk or an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout, where there's just these vast worlds to explore and so many factions, so many side quests, so many hidden quests that aren't marked, but if you know where to look, you find them through the lore and everything. Like Easter eggs, just fun things that make in like patterns with NPCs, like daily routines or whatever, to where it makes these worlds alive and well and flourish. And you're like, man, I could spend hundreds of hours in these. Like, I even remember as a kid, like, I don't know, I don't think you would technically classify Pokemon Red and Blue as an open world, but like, back then I sunk so many hours into that, and then Gold and Silver, like completing the Pokédex, doing the getting all the items and the TMs and the HMs and all the legendaries, and this, because it's like it was thrilling and fascinating, and every town was different and unique, and it stood out, and it was like this living breathing thing. Like, even that was in the 90s, and now, fast forward to today, like, you have some truly monolithic, just giant worlds to play with, but so many of them go overboard, and they just think bigger is 100% better when it comes to game scale. And that is definitely not the case, because I would much rather play a smaller, tailored 25 to 30 hour masterclass story RPG hub world type thing than 100 plus hour um, RPG that is stretched way thin, and there's so many hinterlands type
Oh
sections
God.
or fetch quests, or I know that horse has been beaten into, like, it is like atoms at this point, but the point remains, it's like the best example where it's just, you know there is a big difference, and that's why some of these RPGs, like the older Bethesda games, the Witcher games, like these are like unicorn type games. Like being able to thread that needle of having a gargantuan dreadnought of a game of content, but not feel overwhelming, and it feels like, dude, I literally want to see everything. There's this random guy carrying a vase around town. I think I'll follow him for 20 minutes and see what he does. Or, it's like, oh, I found this random note on this bench, and then I end up spending the next 2 hours on the other side of the world finding some obscure relic or something. Like, those games are like true unicorn type things. So I think it's much easier for people to not stretch themselves too thin and really focus on narrative and world building if they do hub based.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with staying in your lane, quote unquote, and staying to what you're good at on that type of thing. And I think more developers frankly should.
Yeah. Speaking of hub world stuff, I see Fuzzy in chat mentioned they on the second playthrough of the Mass Effect trilogy. Let me tell you, on your 11th playthrough, it's just as good. I would know. Like hub-based RPGs, I keep beating the flogging the dead horse or whatever that saying is. By the way, that's one of my things in real life. I mess up analogies all the time, all the time.
Beating the frog is not one I've heard.
Yeah, but it's basically one of my traits. I hilariously mess up analogies on a daily basis. Um, but like hub-based RPGs, they're so good. Like The Witcher 2, I love The Witcher 2, and The Witcher 2 is a 30-hour game. basically 25, 30 hours. It has main side quests, collectibles, and it's just so well done. Deus Ex Human Revolution, hub based. Mass Effect 1 through 3, hub based. Dragon Age 1 and 2, hub based. Definitely not Inquisition because those hinterlands. Oh, uh,
Oh,
whoever
yeah.
designed that part of the map or that part of the game in Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't know what they were thinking because it's like they were like, hey, we need to make maybe 10 hours of this game deliberately boring. What should we do? And then they made the most boring level possible. Um, but yeah, I just like I want to talk about it because like there's going to be what 100-hour games that come out this year. Trying to think of a big RPG. Probably like Greedfall 2, stuff like that. Hell, that's probably going to be a 30-hour RPG, but we will see 100-hour RPGs this year, and like I'm sure some will feel like they justified like the time, but I don't know. It's like I feel like in the past 10 years we've had so many open world games just be open world just to justify the price, and I think I've been feeling this way maybe since Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm still salty about Metal Gear Solid 5, by the way. They had
You're not the only one.
they had absolutely amazing gameplay in such a boring game. Like, I'm sorry, but when I play a Metal Gear Solid game, I want 45,000 hours of cutscenes and a story that doesn't make sense. You don't get that with 5. You get good gameplay, but everything else is missing. Um, but like everything just being open world, I just don't get it. You know, um, I'm sure that when the next Red Dead Redemption comes out in 10 years, I'm sure I'll want to sink 300 hours into it. But like GTA comes out this year, apparently, like I'm gonna finish that in 20 hours. I'm gonna be fine with it. I don't know. Just wanted to talk about it because I do see a lot of excitement in the gaming community when someone mentions the term. I'm doing air quotes 30-hour RPG. Um, and speaking of 30-hour RPGs, we also get an Exodus this year. Thank God. Uh, um, absolutely craving some hub-based sci-fi third-person shooter RPGs. Like what a disaster, by the way, is that, and I will always harp on this on Twitter, that you have these games that come out, they're super successful, right? You have Call of Duty 4, sorry, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It pretty much redefines the military shooter to the point where basically every military shooter now has the exact same controls. And, we had tons of clones of them, but every so often you have a game that's successful and nobody else copies it. And I can't figure out why. Skyrim basically blows all records apart in 2011. Nobody decides to make a Skyrim clone. Never happened. Nobody decided to make games that were similar to Mass Effect. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, bloat open world games. I think people are getting really sick of them. And someone asked us this yesterday, and I thought it was a very good question to ask because I use the term bloat a lot when it comes to RPGs and just open worlds in general. And someone asked me, like, would I consider Starfield bloat? And the truth is, no, because that is basically optional exploration content. Something I would consider bloat is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? You have this gorgeous game in this beautiful map with excellent gameplay, and I put 90 hours into that game, and I felt like it was never going to end. You know, you go to Asgard, the game never ended. It's like, oh, there's another side quest here where there's some armor. Oh no, it's a main quest that feels like a side quest. Like it just felt like it was going on too long. Um, and I think that's a bit of a difference between those two. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that because again, I just get sick of all the bloat in the bloody games. Logan, you were talking about the whole like Pokemon thing. Pokemon Gold, like when that came out, like you had the new map. I think it was called Johto. And
Hmm.
can you remember being surprised that when you finished that map and you beat the boss at the end, that you had the original map open up as well, Kanto?
Oh, that was mind blowing. And I was like, dude, I get to go back to Kanto and like revisit all these places. And a lot of the people were saying, but there were some differences. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, like as soon as people like a lot of people didn't know that was going to be in the game because lack of people's internet back then. But yeah, that was an exciting thing. Would I consider it open world? I mean, we may as well do. Yeah, there's lots of open fields in it on a like what Pokemon was doing back on the Game Boy. That was very impressive. Um, and
Nintendo knows their stuff.
yeah,
Give them credit.
yeah. Speaking of Nintendo, that Switch 2's pretty much going to be announced any day now. Like
Man, what
every part of
happened to
that
their
machine is
ninjas?
leaked. You've had Joy Cons leak. You've had motherboard parts leak. Like I think it's time, Nintendo. And by the way, I love how all Nintendo leaks, things like the Switch 2 is going to be announced this year. Like no shit, Sherlock. Like, of course it is. Like, we all know that. Just extremely vague stuff. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? CES is going on at the minute, and there's been some really cool things announced. People were losing their marbles over the 50 series graphics cards. Now, when it comes to tech and Xbox and the FSR and all that stuff, that stuff I know about. When it comes to PC stuff, I'm not exactly the most knowledgeable person in the room. But the fact that you're going to be able to get a 5070 that has the power of a 4090 for 500 and I think it said $550, that's bloody good. So the fact that they're cramming all that crap into an affordable card, impressive stuff. But one of the interesting things is that Matt Booty came out on stage during the AMD showcase. And they're talking about FSR. I think it's 4.0 at this point, and consoles will be getting that soon via an update. And they actually showed off, some really cool tech with DLSS. But one of the really cool things they showed off was like snippets of Doom: The Dark Ages, and it looks very good. Like Logan, I'm assuming you haven't seen any of the CES stuff.
No, I all I saw was Matt Booty, and then I tweeted like, "Okay, here we go again. He's gonna say something, and everybody's gonna microanalyze it into oblivion."
Yeah.
But speaking of oblivion, we'll talk about that later. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I didn't know they had a Doom thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking, okay, here's Matt Booty coming out on stage. Something's going to be said, and it's going to be twisted. Shockingly, that didn't happen. Just talking about tech, but they briefly showed off some Doom, the Dark Ages stuff. It looks very good. They're clearly going to be showing more of that soon, which we're going to be talking about in a bit. But one of the interesting things that was shown off at CES is that uh, Steam is opening up their OS to their first third-party handheld device. So the new Lenovo, I think it's Lenovo Legion Go or something. Lenovo Legion Go 2. They've all got weird names. But it's going to be the first platform where a Steam OS is on a third party device. Which is actually kind of big, and you might be wondering what's that got to do with Xbox, because Microsoft, they apparently going to be doing a handheld in the future, and apparently there may be some more stuff shown at CEX or to developers behind the scenes. But I just think it's very interesting that in an age where people are talking about exclusives and operating systems and stuff, and there you have Steam, like they are putting their own operating system on a product that they don't make, which I think is a big deal because over the past few weeks we've been talking about the OEM strategy and different developers making different pieces of hardware for the same ecosystem. It turns out maybe it does work because like Steam, they're willing to do it. So like Steam, they make a Steam Deck. Steam is clearly happy with how that thing performs, how the games are selling on the thing, but you also have them putting Steam OS on a Lenovo device, which is actually a big deal. What do you think, Logan? Because like that's kind of what Xbox wants to do, according to all the leaks.
Yeah, it kind of just goes with the Gaben mindset. Just Steam is everywhere. It's just all encompassing. It's like the idea that Steam is like this juggernaut, and if you want Steam, you can find Steam. It is not hard to find Steam. So the idea that they're open to it being on other platforms and competing devices and stuff is just very much like a hey, we're already getting all our money and can cake and everything to where we can get all the stuff on our traditional thing and then we can bring it to other. We want to make this easier for you. And to me, like as a primarily console guy, that still feels a little foreign. But I get it. I understand it. It makes sense, especially when you have such an overwhelming lead and store and sales and the way they operate. Like, you know, let's be real, Epic Game Store ain't sniffing that. Or GOG or whatever. They do well, but no one touches Steam. So the fact that they feel confident enough and willing enough to put their stuff on other things, I definitely think Xbox sees that and in their leadership mind is like, why not embrace the Steam mentality? And, personally, I still have reservations about the multi platform approach fully. Like, I still believe to my core that there are some things that, some lines you just do not cross. And, like, there are certain franchises that you shouldn't do that with, like Halo, Gears, Fable, like the legacy stuff. But in general, I understand it. On principle, I get it. Money wise, I absolutely get it. It's like if you're just looking at a black white, sheet of paper that shows you like we will make this amount of bukus of money if we put it everywhere versus we make it this much if we arbitrarily restrict it like to a pure suit or a pure financial person, like, of course they want that. Like, duh, that makes sense. But from a brand and legacy thing, I still think there's something to be said for keeping things reserved and, legacy and all that. But, I'm a warm and fuzzy guy, so maybe maybe corpo ain't for me. But in general, it doesn't bother me. And I think frankly, it's kind of like the idea of maybe not everybody works with this or thinks about it, but like, you can get Microsoft Office, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, all that on a Mac. You can get like competing, PC and app and, Mac used to compete all the time on ads and all these things. And now you can get, PC stuff on your Mac just fine if you prefer that, but you like the other stuff of the Apple ecosystem. So to me, I think Microsoft coming from a Windows brain type of thing could see this Steam type thing, and that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Sorry that was long, but
no, it's good.
that just kind of it that seems to be the writing on the wall to me.
Yeah, I think the industry's changing so fast that you kind of just don't know what to think because, like, even Matt Pascatella was talking about yesterday and how like Sony in the future, like they are moving away from exclusive, and people from Sony were talking about like putting their games on other platforms, and like the cost of these games has gone up. Everything's changing. Like, this isn't doom and gloom, and I think everyone's going to be fine in the end. But I just think it's funny how um like everything is changing so quick, or at least it seems that way. Uh, but yeah, I'm sure things will pan out fine. Anyway, we'll have to move on because we've still got a crap load of topics. You know what? I'll talk about this quickly because it's going to affect a lot of people. So Microsoft Rewards just changed in some pretty good ways. So now bear in mind, Microsoft Rewards, whenever I talk about it, there's still people online that don't know how it works and that you could actually buy things with those points. You know, I've bought tons of like full price games I bought my Starfield controller with points. I got £100 off my Xbox Series X with points, and Game Pass and all that stuff. And it's a very good loyalty program. Granted, if you live in the UK, you'll know that last year it got nerfed to hell. Like I was making
Oh
about
yeah.
yeah in the UK I was making about 1,000 Microsoft reward points a day, and then April last year they changed it. They removed the extra stuff that we were getting. That hurt. That was like a kick in the groin. Not gonna lie, but it's still a good loyalty program. But anyway, they've kind of changed how you get reward points. So basically, you have to open the Xbox app on mobile, and there's a tap to play thing where you get you play this gem game. You can do it in about 30 seconds. You get 20 points for using the Xbox app, which you get straight away. You get 10 points for playing a PC game per day, and the other one was you get 10 points for playing a game on console. Now, there used to be a bunch of other stuff, such as get an achievement each day. Now, trying to get an achievement each day in a Game Pass game could be a bit of a stretch sometimes. So sometimes you'd look for a specific game that has a lot of easy achievements, and you'd basically play it a little bit each day. Well, Microsoft, it looks like they've completely gutted it, and there's no more achievement per day thing. But you can still earn the same amount of points, actually more so, different ways. So there's now a multiplier for each day you play a game in Game Pass. You have to play it for 15 minutes. And if you play a game in Game Pass each day for 7 days, you get a bunch of points, basically. And basically, if you play 4 Game Pass games in a month, you get 50 points. But if you play 8 Game Pass games in a month, they throw you another 350 points. So while they have gotten rid of the achievement per day thing, it looks like they've actually made it easier to get points because, again, the achievement thing was really annoying. And also, they've added a new PC streak as well. So basically, if you play a Game Pass game each day on console, at the end of 5 days, you get 150 points. Now they're doing the exact same thing, but with PC Game Pass as well. So if you play a PC game, you get 150 points at the end of the week. So pretty cool stuff. I actually like these changes. It's actually easier to do as it was before. Like, Logan, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right, with the achievement per day thing.
Yeah, like in some ways they kind of nerfed some things that I enjoyed, like, games per day or achievement this and that. And like I remember when it first launched, like I was just raking in points like at an an all you can eat buffet rate. And so I get why they nerfed it, but they also tweaked some things and made things easier. So overall I think it makes sense. And it's still one of the best things out there. And frankly, people should use it because I use it to get DLCs or games on sale all the time. Or if you stack it up, you can really get a big ticket item, like you said, a Starfield controller or $100 off a console. So definitely make use of it, and it doesn't take that much time. If you want to just dabble in a little Game Pass game here and there, put a 15 minutes in, get an achievement, go about your business.
Yeah. I think over time it kind of makes sense. Like, don't get wrong, nobody's happy that they nerfed the points last year. Like, we all felt that, especially in the UK where we had the extra PC stuff. Because literally, I'm not even kidding. Last year, or up until April last year, if you lived in the UK, all you had to do was literally fire up a game on PC, go into like a multiplayer lobby. You didn't even have to play. Leave it for 15 minutes, and you got an extra 250 points per day.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. Don't get me wrong. It was very nice. I mean, I remember I bought my Starfield controller, and I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have to, do Microsoft Awards for a month to like save up again. But anyway, yes, they nerfed it a year ago, but it's good that they've actually made things easier because honestly, I hated having to save certain games for achievements. Now people won't have to do that, and yeah, it's a good thing in my opinion. I will say this though: if anyone from the Microsoft Awards team does listen to this. Don't nerf it as much in the future because it really annoys people. Like, one of the best things about using Bing is that you get things in return, basically money. And while I do think that Bing is better in a lot of ways when it comes to search, less people use it just because iPhones and I believe Android phones, they use Google by default. And considering people by nature just want to use the simplest thing possible, there's no reason to use Bing over Google when it comes to simplicity. So yeah, hopefully the Bing team don't mess it up. But yeah, just wanted to talk about it quickly because again, I think it's a really good reward service that needs to be talked about maybe more. Anyway, so South of Midnight. Now, South of Midnight was announced a couple of years ago. I don't know why Human Fall Flat music was playing. But yeah, South of Midnight was announced for a few years ago, and we've had little updates since. There's been some gameplay stuff. Well, anyway, over the past month, I'd say like 3 or 4 weeks, the Compulsion dev team have been putting out these little clips on Twitter of just gameplay segments. And honestly, the game looks very good. Now, what's weird is, and before we talk about the gameplay itself, I have noticed there's this like weird trend at the minute on Twitter where people are getting really angry about South of Midnight and like hating the game. They pre-hating the game. The usual suspects are getting angry about it. And I know absolutely nothing about the Deep South. I like the tone of the game. Looks very cool. I like the art style. I like that kind of claymation-y look thing. Stop motion. Honestly, the game looks fantastic, But the fact that they're showing so much makes me believe that March rumor. I 100% believe that, March will be the release of that game. Because they're just putting out too much gameplay. And the gameplay does look good. It's some solid platforming, solid third-person combat. It's a very different type of game for Compulsion games. They haven't really made anything like this before. So frankly, in my opinion, it does look very good. Logan, what's your thoughts? Because they have been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm really, really excited. When Compulsion was first bought, I've actually been on the bandwagon for them for a while because I appreciated what they tried to do with We Happy Few. It was very much, and then Contrast as well. You could tell it was an ambitious, smaller studio that was creatively brilliant, but lacked some technical polish and know-how and manpower and resources. But it was clear, hey, this team that they've got some ideas I like. And then they went dark for so long, and then when they revealed the game, I was like, wow, this is like Tim Burton fever dream. This is incredible. And the documentary they released about the Deep South and all the inspiration and the trends, all the little gameplay snippets they've been releasing here and there, like the cosplay guide they just released for Hazel, the character. If you're into cosplay and stuff, check it out. They've been going all in on this stuff, and I'm from the South, but this is deeper South than where I'm from in the country. But I can say from my knowledge of that region and lore and folklore and stuff, it feels very in tune with that. Like they're doing a good job, and it feels true to it, and it doesn't feel like it's like sometimes people want to talk about something or write about something, and then they put it out there and it almost feels like it like is almost disrespectful or detracts from it, and like almost comicalizes it.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel that way. It feels very genuine, heartfelt attempt at it. And the gameplay's been looking awesome. I think the controversy is ridiculous. Like, I know there are people out there who they see anything related to certain things and they just assume the worst and go places and try to spread FUD about things. And not saying there aren't some examples of that are legitimate out there, but this is no. This game is legit and on the up and up. It looks really good. I like it. I'm excited for it. Looks like they've done a great job with characters and story. Give me a heartfelt game with good characters, gameplay, world. Like I'm all in, and I'm with you. I think this release is near imminent.
Yeah.
Like I would go so far as to say near imminent. It feels like this. And if you saw earlier today, Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 started tweeting up a storm again as well. Like I think that Dev Direct is very soon, and I feel like we might have our three primary tenets of that.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my crazy tinfoil hat theory?
Sure, good.
I think Microsoft is going to try and front load the year with releases. Uh, a lot of
Hey, I like it.
a lot of developers. Like, look, if people go back to the Game Awards, and I'm talking about like third party stuff, basically every game outside of Crimson Desert had just 2025 in the title. Developers are not committing to certain months this year.
They're
Like,
scared of GTA.
yeah, they're scared of GTA. Like, when these developers like put out a release date, let's say for I don't know September 19th, right? Let's say a certain developer puts out a release date for September 19th. They make material, they publish it for September 19th, and let's say GTA releases the next day. They are going to have to spend money to basically pull that back and announce a different release date. So, as someone that has, a database of upcoming games, and I cover upcoming games on the channel every single month, there's a noticeable gap in release dates after April. Like, developers are staying far away. So I putting this out there, I would be shocked if everything Microsoft plans to come out this year outside of COD and maybe Fable, I think everything is going to come out before August. Everything. Outer Worlds 2.
That'd be a heck of a intro into summer. That'd be great.
Yeah, because like GTA, like I put it like this: when GTA releases, you aren't going to see other developers release within weeks of that game on either side, because people will just look at their money thinking, no, I'm going to spend my time on GTA. So while I do have my little rants every week saying, my hype is going down for that game every moment, it's still going to break every record known to man. It's going to break every record. So, like, I think developers are going to front load this year with releases. Now, that's good for us that want to play big releases early on in the year. And I do hope more developers actually, release games in June and July and August. Actually, August last year was pretty good. But, like, I can't see many games releasing late this year. I just can't. In fact, there's one game with a release date in October, and it's that Double Dragon game. That's it. So, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I think this year is going to be heavily front-loaded. Which just means more for me to cover. But, hey, that's cool. But yeah, GTA, man, like I've spoke to developers from Ubisoft and some other publishers, and let me tell you, they are staying far away from like late this year.
It's the boogeyman. I get it.
Like, ideally, Rockstar would announce their release date now, just to let other publishers know, hey, this is our month, stay away, your game ain't going to sell around this. I think basically the only game that could succeed around then is, Call of Duty, which is rumored to be
FIFA or something like
FIFA.
that, yeah.
And Call of Duty this year is apparently, I've seen two rumors. It's either going to be a follow-up to Black Ops 2 or a remaster of Black Ops 2. So, probably Black Ops related at this point, considering Treyarch, doing their thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very strong year, very strong early in the year. But yeah, South of Midnight looks really cool. And honestly, I've been wanting more third-party games with like, not third-party, third-person games with like platforming elements, because we don't really have that much now. Everything has to be like, massive open world, action adventure, and this isn't really that. You've got superpowers. I kind of like that. You can even fly and glide and stuff. But yeah, South of Midnight. Putting out there, I think that releases by the 20th of March, and I'll be there playing it. Looks very good.
Sounds good. I'll be back in 1 minute. My dog is wolfing about something.
It's all right. But yeah, South of Midnight looks very good. Indiana Jones. Now, Indiana Jones, we talked about earlier on the show. I think that game is phenomenal, and people haven't played it yet. It is, honestly, I'm not even kidding. I think Indiana Jones may end up being one of my favorite games. Top 25 for me, because it's just delivered on every level. Main quests, excellent. Storytelling, excellent. Like Troy Baker, by the way. Troy Baker is Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. Like, is literally perfect. Perfect. In fact, if we need a Harrison Ford, impersonator for a Star Wars game, a Han Solo game, Troy Baker, right there. Right there. And I hope he returns for future Indiana Jones games, even by other publishers and developers, because he clearly knows what he's doing. But also the guy that plays Voss, like possibly the best Indiana Jones antagonist. He's menacing, but you actually like him at the same time because of how menacing he is, and it just works. That's what makes a really good villain. You either really like them because you get the point, you understand their message, or you really dislike them. I think another person that people could relate to is Joffrey from Game of Thrones. People legitimately hated that actor. Absolutely awful. Oh yeah, Tony Todd. Tony Todd's performance in that game is phenomenal, and that might have been his last role before he passed away. But the whole cast did a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. And while I was saying, in December that Hellblade 2, Melina Jurgens winning that best performance award, I think she did. Like that Indiana Jones performance is so good, so good. If people haven't played it yet, play it immediately. It's incredible. I mean, I was saying before the show went live, I don't feel the need to get all the collectibles in a video game. I don't feel the need to get all achievements. It's rare that I try to 100% a game. But with Indiana Jones, I really want to 100% this game. I want to do every side quest, every field work mission, even going around taking photographs of stuff. It's a fun game to play. And even like the smaller achievements, like throwing an apple at an enemy's head, stuff like that. Very cool achievements. I like these more fun-based achievements, like hit an enemy with a guitar. Good achievement. I hope we see more games like this, because if you're an immersive sim fan, we haven't had much to go off over the past few years. We had things like, Dishonored. There was the Dishonored 2, Dishonored spin-off game. I always forget its name. Deus Ex Mankind Divided. It's kind of rare. Prey to an extent, Prey 2. I keep calling it Prey 2. But yeah, Indiana Jones, it looks like we may be going to see more. I believe Windows Central Jez Corden mentioned this, how Disney were on the phone talking about how they want more games. And as someone that's been wanting a brand new Wolfenstein for years now, let me tell you, I'd say put Wolfenstein on hold, make more Indiana Jones. It is perfect. Perfect. Like, I love Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the fact that we get an expansion this year as well, the story's going to continue. It's just great news for Indiana Jones fans. And look, there's going to be other developers and other publishers that make... Yeah, The Outsider, thank you. I think it's called, Death of the Outsider for Dishonored. But like, Indiana Jones is so good. And I think, and this is the only time people will ever hear me agree with IGN, the future of Indiana Jones is in video games. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't exactly get the job done. Let's be honest. Has some cool scenes. The scene with the fridge, let's be honest, no one's fridge is that good. No one's fridge. And the last one, Dial of Destiny, the first 25 minutes, phenomenal. Everything else afterwards, not so much. But this whole game,
I'm back.
yeah, I'm just talking about Indiana Jones and how it looks like we're going to see sequels because apparently Disney want more. Um, but like I think we talked about this last time as well. Like the future of Indiana Jones, it may as well be video games. You have Troy Baker, amazing performance, and we really can't be asking Harrison Ford to be making these movies in his 80s. That's just not fair. And the past two movies just haven't worked out. Haven't worked out.
I completely agree. And like you mentioned with IGN, like it's a blue moon event for me to agree with them as well. But um, yeah, I agree. The future of Indiana Jones should be in games, and I'm glad Disney wants more. And I reckon that Machine Games will be happy to oblige. And I bet a few other developers, like they used to with Star Wars and are doing again, will get their crack at it as well. Get different types of indie experiences. And all in all, it's a great time, and I hope more media rights holders of mega franchises or some dormant series take a hard look at games as a potential resurrection point for some franchises, because there are definitely some out there that I think games would be a good you know event for to get them back.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, do you know what I'd like to be turned into a video game or modern video game? The Mummy.
Oh man, that would be awesome. Imagine you get his uh his voice for the character, or
Yeah, Brandon
it
Fraser.
just I love those. Yes, Brendan Fraser. Like growing up, those were some of my favorite movies. I love The Mummy.
Yeah, the Mummy's so good. I mentioned that because you can kind of take the Mummy as a more action focused Indiana Jones
Hmm.
with like more comedy moments. But yeah, it looks like we're going to see more games. Now that they have like a framework in place, like they have a structure that works. Like there's so much to do in each level. Like I spent maybe 10 hours in the Vatican level. Um, And before the game came out, they came out and said, Machine Games, that the game has 4 hours of cutscenes. Right? When they said that, I was like, really? Like 4 hours of cutscenes? But when you play it, it makes sense. It's not like it's not like Metal Gear Solid 4 where the end cutscene is 2 hours long. Not even kidding. That is literally the length of the end cutscene. You can literally sit back and treat it as a movie. But Indiana Jones, they perfectly spared out, in between main and side missions and other things. Um, it's just so good, so good. I know I keep talking about Indiana Jones, but I think it's because I'm so happy to have a game that it isn't open world. Again, I'll always mention that at every opportunity. It has like side quests that are just fun to do. The collectibles are fun. Like too many games for me, like collectibles just feel like an afterthought. But in this game, it feels like they actually put them in the game, and it just goes with the story. It's hard to explain. But yeah, people haven't played it. Play it immediately. It's honestly, I was saying a month ago that Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 was my game of the year for 2024. That's probably going to change. That's probably going to change because it's just ridiculous. But yeah, just thought I'd talk about that quickly because it looks like we will see more. And they had success with it. So even though it launched in Game Pass and it was on Xbox and PC, it was number 2 in the NPD, just behind Call of Duty. So I suspect Microsoft is very happy with how this game's performed, in the US, UK, and other countries. So very good to see because, again, put Wolfenstein on hold, maybe put other developers on it, but I just want more Indiana Jones. Anyway, we'll move on. Final Fantasy, once again, this topic never ends. The director of Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth basically came out literally in between Christmas and New Year talking about how, look, they are satisfied with the amount of sales of Rebirth, but they want to put the game on other platforms. Now, we've done this song and dance many times, Square Enix. Many, many times. And, we just want to know when. Because, look, Final Fantasy VII is a household name, right? I played that game as a kid, didn't understand the story because I was too young, but excellent game. And, like, I would buy the remake in a heartbeat. Try not to swear, but I would buy that game in a heartbeat. And, like, will I buy 16 when it comes over? Yeah, looks cool. They just need to bring them over. They keep saying time and time again that, hey, we want to put more on the console. We're going to bring more games over. We're committing to multi-platform support on Xbox. Blah, 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 blah. Even listing Xbox in their multi-platform business strategy. And they said that over Christmas. And it's like, we just want to see the games. Like, yes, they probably have something in place with Sony when it comes to, 7 Remake. I get that. But I think it's time. They need to bring something over, or even just announce it. Because 16 is now on PC. Rebirth is either out on PC now or it's out very soon. I think it's very soon on PC. And it's been long enough. We just want the games. And look, I think these games will also come to the Switch too as well, which apparently right now there may be images floating around on Twitter in the past hour. I can't post them, but search Switch 2. You'll see them. But yeah, it looks like these games are inevitably coming. Logan, what's your take? Because we have done this song and dance with Square Enix basically every week, but they keep mentioning stuff.
Yeah, just to be completely blunt, I'll go there. They need to just quit blue balling the Xbox fan base about it, and
Yeah.
just like we know they're coming to the platform at this point. Like it seems inevitable. Like I guess you can't quote unquote put 100% lock because there might be some legal thing or something, but
Yeah.
it seems like the writing's on the wall. They keep talking about it. They keep mentioning it every time. The creative director is all but walking around with a sign that says Xbox version soon. And it just, we will be getting Final Fantasy on Xbox at some point. I think 16 will be before 7.
Yeah.
Like, I think that just makes sense. And I think that one will be very soon. And then 7, like, if they have to wait for the third one to get done, okay. But I just personally think it's coming to Xbox before the end of this generation. I feel like it is. And honestly, like this is kind of just a sidestep to tie it into another world I'm interested in, sports. But like I wish that these businesses and stuff would, you know, be upfront about how long things last or um, you know, like deals and like quit treating everything like it's like government black site level secrets. They're video games for crying out loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not state secrets. It's hey, when is Final Fantasy Bloody coming to Xbox? Like I don't think that's a national level event of sworn to secrecy. Like in sports, like you sign a free agent, you sign a player, you get a contract terms like this player's signed for 4 years, this so many $1 million, or there's a player option, or there's injury clauses or performance boosts, whatever. Like it's obvious, like it's out there and you can see it and you're like, okay, so now I know how to plan and the team knows how to plan and fan bases can be informed and engaged and stuff. And frankly, I know why they don't do that, because they like to be weasels about it and to have things murked up and shadowy to where people don't know and there's air of doubt and this. But just cut the BS. Just be like, yeah, okay, we signed a 2-year deal. We signed a year deal. This is a perpetuity thing. It's just ain't happening, folks. Just be upfront. It's not state secrets. It's video games. We play them for fun. Come on now.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that makes it frustrating is that You know, when it came to Rise of the Tomb Raider, we literally knew before the game came out, like what the deal was. so like,
Yeah.
now with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I think that came out in what 2019, 2020. Like people, they just want the game already. You know, funny thing is, when every single post, and do I do it deliberately? Maybe. But every single post I make
The
about,
moth.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like moths to a flame every single time. But like every time I post like a GIF from Final Fantasy VII, I get replies like, oh, they're not talking about Xbox, they're talking about Switch too, or they're talking about PC, and like it's like this, they feel threatened by it. It's like I really don't get it. Like I played Final Fantasy as a kid on Game Boy and PlayStation, and like
Hmm.
some people just have this like really weird reflex when it comes to like mention these games coming to Xbox. Like it's weird. Like and like people just keep saying, oh, like nobody on Xbox will buy it. Let me tell you how that's a bunch of bullcrap.
Oh, it is bullcrap.
Yeah, so Xbox gamers bought a game in December, or might have been November, called Death Stranding, whose perception is a FedEx delivery guy simulator, right? Number one on the Xbox store. So how would a renowned JRPG such as Final Fantasy VII Remake sell on Xbox? I think it would do pretty well.
Cookies.
Yeah,
It would be crazy.
and like if you really think about like Death Stranding has the global perception of being a walking simulator, right? And I've been playing Death Stranding since it came to Xbox. I think it's a bloody good game. But literally,
Hmm.
whenever you see a video of that game, it's a dude walking with baby in person's throat. That still doesn't make sense to me. And just like weird crap, but it just works.
Acid trip music in the background too.
Yeah, and it just works, and people really resonated with it. And yes, it being 50% off at launch, chef's kiss, by the way. Great decision by 505 and Kojima Productions, and like big AAA game, £17, yes please, and it sold well. So like if I think Square Enix should maybe do that approach with these games, maybe not the 50% sales stuff, but I just think it's time. You know, would it be cool to have a Japanese game such as Final Fantasy 16 at their upcoming developer direct? That would be sweet. I mean, that's where Visions of Mana had its first gameplay trailer for Xbox last year.
Yep.
So who knows? Who knows what will happen? You know what? We've still got some really big stuff to talk about. Screw it. Let's talk about this now. So this stuff kind of leaks about I want to say a year ago. Someone from I think Bethesda's one of Bethesda's lawyers accidentally posted a bunch of upcoming games from Bethesda and basically leaked it. And on that list was Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake. Now, in multiple different documents, it was listed as a remaster, and one was listed as a remake. And now it's been coming out over the past few months that it's an Unreal Engine 5 remake made by Virtua Studios, who do things like this in the past, such as remasters and remakes. It's basically all but confirmed at this point. It is happening, and we've talked about this game many times on the podcast. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has the superior story to Skyrim. I don't care what people say. Skyrim has the better side quests. This has the better main story. But it looks like it's happening. And to my knowledge, it's going to be a 1-to-1 remake. So think of it like Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta or Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. That game is going to be 1-to-1. Literally the same game you've played in the past, but prettier and with new gameplay mechanics. Improved gameplay, shall I say. And I think that's all it needs to be. Now, Oblivion at the time was a very impressive game. Walking out the dungeons for the first time, going out into the open world on Xbox 360, like that was it was basically a genre in like technological defining moment for me when it comes to like RPGs
Yeah,
and stuff.
seminal moment.
Yeah, like stepping out, like it was incredible. Now you play it, it's like the game hasn't aged too well. You know, you have that green paint as a grass texture on the floor. You have about 50 Oblivion gates, each have like a 2-minute loading screen. That won't be a thing in the remake, thankfully. And yeah, it looks like it's happening. And basically, it looks like we're probably going to see this in action at the upcoming developer directs. Now, Logan, we've been talking about Oblivion for what feels like over a year now, and it's basically happening. So, what's your take?
I am absolutely euphoric. Oblivion to this day remains one of my favorite games and most memorable games I've ever played. Like, you know how we talk about the true next gen experience, or like how it kind of feels like we're getting less and less of that and more just like kind of gradual tweaks or little upscales or new innovations in the game features or tech or stuff to help on the fringes. But like back then, like this was like a true seminal moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh my word. Like I remember jaw dropping. Like, playing through that, opening scene, you got Professor X voicing Uriel Septum. Um, and then you get out of the sewers, you see the world, and you're like, my gosh, all of this is out here. I could go anywhere I want. What is this? And it was incredible. Like you, I think by far it has the best story. It has some of the best quests, side quests, and factions. Like overall, I'd say Skyrim is a quote better game, but I think like at its height and peaks and like what it really nails, like I'd pick Oblivion. So I'm super excited for this. I'm excited to see what they would do with a remake. Like you said, if it's a simple 1-1 where it's, basically a much needed paint job and, modernization of a few things, like if they could remember leveling up in that game was a royal pain in the hide
Oh, yeah.
compared to Skyrim. It took you like 5 bloody years to level up in Oblivion. And of course, I guess they could find a happy medium if you thought Skyrim was too easy. But like, if they could like take like the Skyrim type leveling up and the class system, and where you could do anything instead of being pigeonholed to certain things, or if like they add like the relationships like you could have in like Skyrim to this, and then like maybe some of the Radiant quest stuff that
Yeah.
they added. Like I could see them adding a few Skyrim type things, but overall, like I am just so excited, and honestly, this would be one of my games of the year like hype announcements. Like I cannot wait for this, assuming it does happen.
Yeah, I think another reason why it's going to be a big deal is because like Skyrim came out in 2011, and then we had the definitive edition come out in I think 2016. Then we had the Xbox One X patch for that game back in I think 2017. Then we had the Xbox Series patch for the definitive edition in 2021. And it's like it's been Skyrim, Skyrim, Skyrim. But Oblivion though, like it's been long enough now that a lot of people have never played that game. So if it has,
Stop, you criminal scum.
yeah, I hope they keep some of the cringe in there. By the way, if people don't know, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has a lot of dialogue. However, they didn't cut together the audio properly when they were making the game, so there's bloopers in the dialogue. So like sometimes you'll be having a conversation and someone will mess up a line, and then they do a retake without like the audio cutting off, and it's like it's hilarious. But they kept that stuff in the game. I hope it keeps the cringe and the mistakes, because that's kind of just what makes Oblivion work. But yeah, it looks like it's happening, and the Xbox Developer Direct is basically all but confirmed at this point. They've had one basically the past 2 Januaries, and every single time they've announced something new or shown something new. So in 2023, it was Hi-Fi Rush with a Shadow Drop. Last year they showed off Indiana Jones gameplay for the first time, and yeah, I think Elder Scrolls will be this year's surprise shown, and like I said before, I think this year is going to be front loaded in the first half. Don't know what the hell's going on with my PC now. You just earn points for playing a Game Pass game. I'm not playing a Game Pass game.
Good job, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm not even playing anything. Don't know what's doing that for. Anyway, but yeah, I think this year is going to be like front loaded in the first half. So like, obviously, this developer direct, you're going to see Doom: The Dark Ages, which allegedly releases in May. You have South of Midnight, which we've seen a lot of gameplay by now, and that is allegedly March. Obviously, you have Avowed coming in February, and I think Avowed's a big enough game that they probably will do its own show as well, like they've done for other games in the past, like a developer breakdown type thing. Remember, we still haven't seen third-person gameplay for that. They've told us we're still going to see third-person gameplay, so they have so much to show. It's going to be a good show, and I'm just suspecting that they're going to announce it next Tuesday. A lot of Xbox news tends to drop on a Tuesday, and obviously with the new year just finishing or just happening, I think Microsoft's still getting the gears going. But all in all, we should be getting some really good, interesting Xbox news in the next week. Logan, have you got any other predictions for the developer directs?
Besides, like, I think we'll get a mix of. I think Obsidian will be there for a double helping of Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. I think South of Midnight's a shoe-in to be there from Compulsion. I think Oblivion Remake will be there. And I think there'll be a few surprises. Like, I don't know why. Maybe this is me just on hopium for the new year. Everything's fresh and new. But I think there'll be some positive goodwill type stuff. But I guess we'll see.
Speaking of hopium, Activision batch.
Yes, that's the ultimate hopium right there.
The funny thing is,
Jason, if you're listening,
I get asked every few days on Twitter by someone, like, have I heard anything more about the Transformers games? People are really thirsty for those Transformers games, but I can't imagine with all the listings. Like, and since the last show, there's been more games spotted on the Windows Store. I think it was Call of Duty Ghosts. So, like, something is happening behind the scenes. We're probably just going to have to wait. But ideally, this would be a developer direct thing where they go, hey, splash screen, these games are now backwards compatible, blah, blah, blah. You have your Spider-Man Web of Shadows or Shattered Dimensions, Transformers this, Transformers that. Look at me, I've got Activision games. But yeah, it should be a good show. You know what? We still have some other stuff to talk about. I've got 2 pages of topics, lovely. Xbox Prime 2026. Now,
speaking of Transformers,
yeah, I was expecting today just to be Optimus Prime gifts everywhere. That will happen. Just give it time. But yeah, so Xbox Prime 2026. Now, Jez Corden from Windows Central has debunked the Prime thing, but not the date, not the release year. And, it was in the FTC documents that Microsoft is aiming for 2026. And I have actually seen some back and forth on Twitter about whether it's too soon for a next-gen console. I mean, console generations used to be 5 years. We had 5 years, and then we moved on to the next thing. And then it was the 7th generation where we had 7-year generation. Yeah, 7-year generation. And in Xbox's case, technically 8. And, those generations felt really long. They were elongated, the economy tanked worldwide, and Microsoft and Sony, they decided to make their generations even longer by, putting out Slims, and also coming out with things like the Kinect and the PlayStation what's it called? Move. Yeah, the Move. And it works back then. In the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, that we had mid-gen refreshes, but you had 4K televisions pop off, so everyone wanted a brand new shiny console that could do those fancy graphics. And with the Xbox Series console, I'll still say this: I think the PlayStation 5 it's a fine machine. Didn't need a Pro. I think a 6-year generation is perfectly fine this time around. I do understand some people's apprehension though, because this generation started, we were all stuck in the house. We were all stuck in the house, and it was the first time where a console launched during a pandemic. So we basically ordered our consoles from home, and they were delivered. At least how most people got it here. And there was no midnight launches for any console. It was extremely weird. I hated that, by the way. I miss midnight launches for hardware. But also all these games were delayed. Like I say this and I mean this. I think Hellblade 2 would have been out in 2022 if it wasn't for the pandemic. All the offices were shut in the UK from March 2020 to April 2021. Like it was a long while. And they couldn't make any game from at home because 90% of that game is motion capture. So like all these games were getting delayed. Hogwarts Legacy, basically everything else. And I get it. People feel like the generation is just getting started. Like 2024 was very strong. This year's looking even stronger. To me personally, I do think it's coming out in 26, but I think 6 years has been long enough for this generation. And remember, like when they move to the next generation, they're gonna have maybe a year or two where they're putting out games on multiple generations of consoles. So like, I wouldn't say it's the end of the generation in 26. Like hell, there's games that I have listed to come out in 2028 for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Like,
Is that Star Wars Eclipse game still pegged for that time?
funny enough, that's not one of them, but that will be.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but like it's crazy. Like there's games like listed to come out. So basically, in 2026, we're gonna have games come out on Xbox One, Xbox One X, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox Next Gen, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro. Crazy. I feel sorry for developers. I really do. But it's going to be awkward. And digital foundry tests, that's going to be a mess. But I'm perfectly fine with 2026 being next generation. 6 years is enough. Like, hell, during the 360 generation, I remember when I got to like 2011, I remember people like really getting sick of the generation. We were wanting something new. Like the games were getting great, even better, but it just felt like it was time for a new console. What do you think, Logan? Because like personally, I believe the 6-year thing is happening, but for me, I think 6 years is fine.
I agree. Like I think the 360 was kind of an uncommon time event where it lasted so long because there was still so much to discover and grow with the tech. Like we talked about Oblivion earlier. Like as mind blowing and awesome as it was at launch, if you compare that game to like Halo 4 or GTA 5, yeah, believe it or not, GTA 5 was a 360 title, folks. Like this game has been out forever and they just keep releasing it just like Skyrim. But like you compare launch 360, early 360 to late 360, it was like a whole generation of a console skip, like just in that time frame. So to me, with the leaps being less but more on the fringes and more about features and innovation and some of the stuff that they can do scaling and introducing AI, other stuff. I feel good with the 6-year mark. I still think they could do more with these, but honestly, I'd rather them just go ahead and jump to next gen and get the ball rolling ahead of time. Like, have a 360 type, get ahead of Sony type moment and seize the momentum and, go out there and compete. Show off your new hardware, everything. To me, 26 feels right. I'm not sure I buy the handheld being so far out. That might be my tinfoil hat thing, but I personally don't think it's as far out as some people make it sound. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and when it comes to like next gen tech and stuff, and like developers are still trying to optimize for the hardware we have now. Uh, like let's be honest, we're never going to see a leap ever again like we got from the Super Nintendo to the N64, or
Oh, that was mind blowing.
yeah, like we went from like 2D pixels to like 3D polygons, and like even the jump from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, that was a massive jump in like 3D fidelity. But we're never gonna have that again. Like, and I think that's like every single time we get new console showing off, we see a fancy vertical slice of a new game, and we're meant to go, wow, look at this, but we haven't really had that for a while. I'd say like Rise Son of Rome and Killzone Shadowfall, like those games were like, wow, look at these. But like we haven't had a new console showing off, at least with Xbox Series and PlayStation 5. Like Hellblade, it was announced with that, but I mean like E3 stuff and games that came out with the system. Like we haven't really had that game that people had to like play at the time, and we're never gonna have that again, I think. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I just can't see what developers could do in the future that would blow like after playing something like Hellblade, and even I'd say equally as impressive technically, Indiana Jones. Like I can't see where we go from here. Like yes, you can have ray tracing and path tracing, that looks really good, but honestly, I would rather not sacrifice performance for ray tracing.
Agreed.
And when this generation started, I was like, "Oh, ray tracing's going to be amazing," and now I'm like, "I'm okay." I think a lot of people on PC that do agree with us as well. Like, I'd rather play at 60 frames per second than have light bouncing off a wall realistically, and I think a lot of other gamers fail that way. It's kind of funny because like seeing how far these like consoles have came. We have these consoles that are capable of 120 frames per second, 4K. I do not believe that 8K thing. Nobody owns an 8K TV. That we have very capable hardware.
No normal person anyway.
Yeah, no normal person. But like, I think the hardware we have right now puts out really impressive stuff. The thing that's gonna be impressive next generation is AI. That's like 100% going to be the game changer. In what ways that'll improve games for us, we'll see. Oh, and I just saw in chat before, I completely forgot about this game when it comes to the developer direct. Clockwork Revolution. It was announced.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
There's so many games. I forgot about that one.
Like
wow.
Clockwork Revolution was announced in 2023 with gameplay, and we've seen nothing since. It's still in development, but we've seen nothing since. That could be a game we see, at the developer direct. I think this is a good problem for Microsoft to have. They just have too much going on, right? They have too much going on when it comes to game releases, which is a good problem to have. Which is why they can really announce anything. Phil Spencer has said in the past that they have so many games in development, they have to announce games throughout the year. And they've done that, with the developer direct. There's some stuff at the partner preview thing. They have I'm going to keep calling it E3, and Gamescom and all that stuff. But it's going to be an interesting year for Microsoft. Hardware for this year, like you said, Logan, maybe the handheld or a handheld comes out this year. It's going to be a weird year because you have the Switch coming out in the next few months, allegedly. You have Lenovo coming out with like 2 new handhelds. There's apparently a Steam Deck 2 in the works. So like the handheld space alone is going to be really competitive.
And Sony will get in on that too.
Yeah, Sony will get in on that as well. it will be interesting because we've gone from Nintendo's the only one that can have a handheld to everyone's wanting to get a piece of the pie now. So it'll be funny to see what happens, but yeah, I will mention this, that Microsoft, they do have Xbox Series S profiles, so like those could allegedly work on a handheld without much work. Speaking of the S, we'll talk about this quickly. I didn't have it in the topic list. Black Myth Wukong. I completely forgot about this topic, and I'll put it like this: I've been hyped for Black Myth Wukong since it was first announced in like 2017 or something. Right? I was probably one of the first people on Twitter to be talking about this game. So I was clearly excited for it, posting GIFs of it, screenshots, all this stuff of upcoming games, even though it had no release date, years out. Last year it was literally scheduled. You can find the trailer still. It was listed for Xbox in August, and then it never came out, and we saw the whole pandemonium with the Series S. Look, the Series S is a fantastic console. It's capable, and the thing is, thousands of bloody games work on the thing. Thousands. Even Baldur's Gate 3 works on the thing now. And for some reason, Black Myth Wukong is causing all this drama. And I have to say, I'm at a point now where I honestly don't care. I was excited for the game for a long time. I think the game, it looks fun. I'm sure I will try it at some point, but I'm not actively excited to play it anymore because it's just been one whole rigmarole of crap after crap after crap and drama. I don't like drama. Now they keep saying it's a Series S issue, but then Microsoft said it wasn't a Series S issue and it might be a deal in place. The truth is, we do not know what's going on. Could it be the developer not optimizing the game properly? It could. Could it be them getting this story out there to get Black Myth Wukong back in the news? They could. Or it could be literally the Series S having problems. It's a weird situation at the minute. But we have seen developers in the past have some issues with tech, and Microsoft's had to send their engineers over, and it's all been sorted out. But it's a sticky situation. I just think that the pandemonium online. In the past week, I've seen people say that the Series S needs to be, cancelled. I think that's stupid. Millions of people have a Series S. Why the hell would you do that now? Logan, what do you think? Because people were really over the top about it, but it's a weird situation.
Yeah, this kind of ties into the topic we had earlier about some, critically acclaimed indie type things that are arbitrarily not on Xbox for whatever reason. And how, I was talking about how I wish they were just upfront about some things, treat it like sports and contracts and stuff, instead of, trying to act like it's state secrets. It's, either there's something going on that is a financial thing or it's a tech thing, maybe a mix of both, who knows, but I wish they would just both say something coherent as a joint thing and just be done with it. But because the more FUD that gets out there about it, the more negative and unattractive it makes the experience seem.
Yeah.
It's a game I was looking forward to. Assuming it does come to Xbox, I will get it. It looks awesome. It looks super cool. The developers clearly did a great job and made a really cool game. I would like to play it. Yeah, absolutely. But, there's also, like we've said with Avowed and a few other games that have been in the news lately for, devs smarting off and saying some stuff. Sometimes comments can come back and negatively affect the bottom line and sales and other things. And not saying it will here, but the fact that this keeps getting up in this vicious he said, she said, whatever about this game instead of just a concrete thing. It doesn't help anyone at the end of the day. and it doesn't make it positive. Like, these are games we want to play, we want to enjoy. Bottom line, it shouldn't be this complicated. But yeah, it's annoying, and like I remember Stellar Blade when that came out. Like, that's another game I know a lot of people on Xbox would play. Like, it has some, Bayonetta or near automata type qualities, and it looks like a fun Souls like game with lots of customization, interesting characters, like sword play, sci-fi, just, but then for some reason it's not on Xbox, whether it's a cultural thing with certain, standards, or if it's a they took a deal with X or PlayStation, whatever. Because I remember when it was first revealed, it was coming to all of them.
Yeah.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it had all the platforms listed, and then it just didn't. But I might be wrong. But it's been a few years. But um, that's another one that, like, and then they've said some things that people go, okay, well, maybe an Xbox version just ain't gonna happen. But that'd be another one I think there would be interest for if they could all be nice and friendly and happy with each other and get something done.
Yeah. I mean, hell, if they want to bring Stellar Blade over, I'll take it. The whole Black Myth Wukong thing, like I just saw Shizno in chat mention, like Game Science really screwed themselves with the Xbox community. It's all this stuff between developers. Like I see developers mouth off on Twitter, and like I love developers, like we all do, but like it can be infuriating as a fan that you're being talked down to like you're a kid in school,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tiring. We buy the product.
Or made out to be the enemy.
Yeah, and like we buy the product at the end of the day. And like, granted, I know people online can be a bit mean and over the top, but I mean, hell, if I could snap my fingers and make that all go away, I would. But we don't live in an ideal world where everything's made out of chocolate and rainbows. Like, it's not real. I just hope, like, for 2025, for developers listening, just calm down. Like stop mouthing off on Twitter. People take screenshots. People remember that stuff. And just because you do it on Blue Sky does not mean that's not happening. People still do that stuff. But yeah, hopefully that stuff's sorted. But outside of that, I think it's really a good year for video games. Now, again, I'm really interested in this developer direct. Really interested. I mean, all the rumors and all the again, this is the hopium kicking in, like with the Activision games being listed on the Windows Store and being updated on Steam. It feels like something's coming together because look, 2024 for Microsoft. Let's be honest, January wasn't the best start of the year for Microsoft from the perception point of view.
Slightly.
Yeah, not the best, not the best day, but now, like, people are settled in, people are happy with the games we've got. Like, look, Xbox's biggest thing for a long time was like, hey, can they get quality, consistent games out? And if you look at last year, like, look, I've been playing a lot of Flight Simulator. Didn't mention this during the show, earlier on in the show, but like I play Flight Simulator now every day. Age of Mythology Retold, absolute quality RTS game on console. Controls, chef's kiss. Hellblade 2, great third person, we can call it adventure game. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, bloody incredible. And like they've proven now that they can get these games out high quality and being consistent. All they have to do now is just continue that. Keep releasing games high quality and all that stuff. And positivity, like, look, a fan base is going to react more to I should say react positive to positive news. Like, Xbox doesn't need to kick off their 2025 with yet another business direct or business podcast or whatever they want to call it, and do the whole negative stuff. Like, no, I think Microsoft learned the lesson. But yeah, anyway, Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
Oh, just you mentioned Age of Mythology, which reminded me of like the recent Game Pass announcement they just dropped today. that the original Diablo is coming to PC and Ultimate, not for console. And then they had some other games mixed in. It's not been met with the overall best reception, you could say. But I thought it's interesting that another Activision Blizzard game is now in the service. And usually, this might be hopium again, but usually when they have a lighter batch, it's right before an event or something, to where then they bring a big batch of goods. So I'm choosing to lean that way.
Yep. Oh, we'll put this out there. I do think we will get StarCraft 1 and 2 announced for console.
Yes.
And
Make it so.
and I think it'll specifically be announced at Gamescom. Europe, like, what can I say? We love our RTS games. And, like, the PC, user base over here is massive, in all of Europe. But, like, RTS games are just big, you know. So I think
And
that'll happen.
racers.
Yeah. I know this is not exactly interesting to people, but Razer just announced a new chair at CES that has active cooling and heating. Lovely.
That's cool.
To be fair, the cooling thing doesn't sound too bad. Anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing once again. We've had 2 weeks off, and beginning of December was all over the place because the stupid bloody bronchitis. It's not going away. We had 2 weeks off, or might have been 3 weeks off, but back to regular weekly episodes on Tuesdays at the same time every week. If you've enjoyed the show, please hit like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm out. And let me know what you want to see in future when it comes to Xbox and stuff. And also when it comes to future videos. If you pay attention to my channel and upcoming releases, you'll notice that there's a certain video that isn't live at the minute. And it's basically a big one for the year. Anyway, long story short, I lost my voice again over Christmas. And I couldn't finish the video. So that should be out tomorrow. I've been making this video for 2 months. So if you want to support the channel, just watch it, share it, comment. Let me know what you think of the video. I have a lot of cool things planned for the channel. There's also on-camera content coming this year. And also, I want to start doing news videos on camera because, again, I'll be able to hop on live and talk to everyone. It's going to be cool. I've got a bunch of cool things planned for the year. Some stuff I can't talk about. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, we'll be back at the same time next week. Video out tomorrow. We are out, everybody. Peace.